Lindenhurst is a village of 27,000 on the south shore of Long Island, New York. These are the people who grew up there and their stories. Everyone I know is from Lindenhurst.
So we're on location here at the Holy Black headquarters with our friend Stefan.
Deep in the chambers.
Do you guys usually do this live, or?
This is the second time we've done this
This is
live.
the second time we've done a live episode,
I like it better live.
it's still in the beta mode.
I think I do too. But it's all about finding a space to do it. Luckily, you have very nice accommodations here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Your
for those who've never been, this is like what would you call your office? Like
many leather-bound books.
You know, I feel like when I was a kid, I always wanted like a Victorian study. You know, like
that
red leather. And,
Some Sherlock Holmes shit.
yeah, I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan.
Of course
as a
you are.
kid, so I was like, so this is like my dream office. It's a little silly, but I like it.
Nah, it's awesome.
I mean, if you have to spend your whole day here, you might as well.
Yeah, it's a little dark though. Like if I would do it again, I would say maybe windows, maybe some lights,
Right.
maybe something other than like those green lamps. Silly.
Oh, the banker's lamps
You know
or
what? I'm
whatever?
like a slave to aesthetics when it comes to like my workspace, and also we use this place for like media, so it has to be like that air conditioner in there like ruins the whole room for me.
Right,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like that's the only thing in here that's not period correct. Everything's made to be like, even the screens for the computers are like hideable. They're like on motors they can hide, and I just want also we got to shoot video in here, we got to shoot photos in here, but also like I want it to be able to be period correct. And same thing with the barbershop, same thing with the laboratory. Everything has to be, whatever time period it is, I want it to be cohesive. And I feel like that's important for the brand. It's important for me. And I don't know, it's like fun. You know what I mean? It's fun to like plan a space out and then build it and then, you know, kind of show it off. And I don't know, we had a really good time just making it, like coming up with the ideas for that type of stuff.
I would implore everybody to check out their vlogs on building this space out, because it started as an empty warehouse and they moved from their original space to here and kind of designed it and built it to whatever, you know, they wanted it to be. We're kind of bad at introducing people listening at home. Our guest today is Stefan, I guess I won't say his last name.
Why? You're afraid?
I am. Stefan Gaudio. I don't know who's going to come after me.
Who's going to come after me?
What?
You might have goons now.
You know what? I grew up like, I feel like I grew up at a time when like you didn't put your last name on the internet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I never.
The internet was new then, but now it's okay because everyone's on the internet.
Yeah,
Everyone's information is on the
it's
internet,
still
yeah.
ingrained. Like no, I always use it. My middle name is my last name.
Yeah.
So you know, but I don't think we have any problems.
All right.
Everybody knows.
Stefan Gaudio, and Stefan is one half of the brothers that run the company, the Holy Black, here in Lindenhurst.
Yeah, Maddie is running around right now.
His other brother. But I guess what we normally do is we start and ask, how did the Gaudios get to Lindenhurst?
How did we get to Lindenhurst? I mean, I'm 7 years older than him, so my dad was from Brooklyn. My mom grew up in Valley Stream. And I think when they had me, they moved to Howard Beach. They had like a condo. They bought a condo in Howard Beach for like $7,500. Imagine.
You know what year?
I guess 1978.
Okay.
And then I was born in 79. And then when my sister was born in like 80, 82, 81, we moved to Lindenhurst, North Lindenhurst, like right off Sunrise Highway, south of Sunrise.
So people would not consider that North Lindenhurst.
I would consider it North Lindenhurst.
I gotcha.
But like, yeah, I'm literally one block on the block.
Sunrise
south of
Highway is the block, yeah.
Yeah, like we used to hang out on Sunrise Highway as
Gotcha.
kids in like the woods. So yeah, I came there. I guess I was 2 or 3 years old when I moved here. So I guess I'm like I've always been a Lindenhurst kid.
Been around here forever.
Yeah, and I grew up on Frank Street, so like
Gotcha.
a lot of my friends in high school were like hanging out on the block. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So past guest Nick Ficalora being one of them.
Yeah, you know,
he spoke a lot about you in his episode.
Me and Nick, I think we got together hanging out like I think junior high.
Okay.
Really, because he was like south Lindenhurst.
He was on, he's on the water, different elementary schools, but
Yeah.
I'm not good at remembering things about high school.
all good.
Like all my memories are all over the place. Like I'm so bad with time. Like I can't tell you dates and times. Like, I'm so bad at that.
Me neither, so it's okay.
Yeah, so
We only have a podcast
everything
about
has-
growing up in the past, you know.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah,
is
it's
great for us.
yeah, it's great.
But as we were saying, like before we started recording, you were a man of many hobbies. So what were you getting into as a kid? Like, what were you?
I mean,
what were you
as a
gravitating
kid,
towards?
We were weird kids. You know what I mean? Like, we had a gang as a kid, like a
Weird
club.
kid gang.
We had like it was like all the kids on the block. We had like a club. We had a clubhouse in my backyard. I don't know what we did all day, and like eventually, that whole thing, like Jesse Guglieri used to hang around over there. He was up on Hamilton. Jason Forget.
Yeah.
The kids on the block, who a lot of them I don't really see anymore. Pretty much, we would just like cause havoc in the neighborhood, go in the woods and build shit. And
So this is like Daniel Street, where there's not even woods over there now.
yeah, no, they built all houses over there, and like it was Daniel Street School. I hung out with Chris Broskett and Billy Baez. They were like, Billy Baez was like a mad scientist when we were kids. You know what I mean? He like doing electronics and like reading. He was on like CompuServe and on Prodigy, like looking up weird mystical shit. And we would like try and do that shit.
There were certain kids that had modems like before everyone else did
yeah.
that got into some weird shit.
I was one of those kids, man. I was on all
News
those
groups.
bulletin- the BBS, the bulletin board systems, the Lindenhurst bulletin board system on the high school. I got in trouble for some shit with that as a kid because like as a kid you just want to mess around with computers and like we did. I mean nowadays that stuff is like super, I guess illegal. I guess it was just illegal then, but when you're 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had those modems where you put your phone coupled onto it, the coupler.
Right. Yeah.
Like 300 baud, 1200 baud, and we would dial into like phone numbers. It was like you just find out phone numbers from people, and you dial them with your computer, and then you could like leave a message, and you could play games, and then they would you'd have to log out for the next person to log in. Like you'd tie up your mom's phone line all night. So yeah, we were a bunch of weird. I feel like we were like really weird misfit kids, and like when I got a little older, me and Billy Baez. He's gonna hate me for even mentioning this. And Chris, we would sneak out of our house in the middle of the night, and we would dress up like ninjas, and we would go out into the schoolyards, and we would like fuck around in the woods, and harass the kids hanging out there and shit like that. And we were just weird, weird kids.
Yeah.
I do specifically remember you walking around in a jester hat
You never know.
in high school.
That definitely could have happened.
It absolutely
A lot.
happened.
Yeah.
I don't know. High school was fun. I liked. I don't really think about it that often. When I listen to your podcast, I'm like, oh, like someone told a story about me. Was it Nick? About
must have
like
been
someone
Nick,
threw like a stink bomb at
Pepper spraying.
Pepper
I
spray.
told it. Yeah.
I don't remember
It's the
that.
first show I ever went to.
I don't even remember that happening.
Yeah.
I remember one time someone throwing bagels. Remember there was like a bag of like day-old hard bagels at the
I
PWAC.
think that was a PWAC. Yeah, I
Someone
remember
was
that.
like someone threw one through the window. It turned into a big thing, and
Wow.
Rich came out screaming at everybody. And I was like, I hadn't really been around that much. I'm like, this place is fucking wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny though, because that show, we've mentioned it before.
What show was
Scott's
it?
show in Huntington. Scofflaws, Channel 59.
Deja One?
No, Huntington. First Church in Huntington.
I don't even
You were there with Sherman and Nick. It was my last day of
Was
it.
I there with a girl?
I mean, if you count Derek Sherman or Nick Vicolora as a
No, because I
girl.
remember going to a show and we were all hanging out on the front lawn.
You were like dressed to the nines too, like Scott out.
like
Smoking cloves.
the
Like,
colored suspenders. No, I used to get those Nat Sherman cigarettes. 'Cause
Sherman had the cloves.
They
though.
came in different colors, so I
Yeah.
would like wear all black.
Uh-huh.
This is the corniest shit.
In suits.
Can you cut this out? But we would wear all black, and then I would wear red
No,
suspenders,
I'm down
red
with
bow
this.
tie, and a red hat band, and then
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
get all the red Nat Sherman cigarettes, and I'd put them all in a box and pick them out of the pack. And then I had blue, and I had black, and I had white. And I would just switch them around.
I went on to play on a bunch of those bands. So.
Yeah, I knew Sherman from elementary school and junior high and stuff. I didn't know who you were. So that's my last day of 8th grade, which is like June of that year. By that October...
Yeah, I'm a year older than those guys. I
Yes,
guess.
so
Yeah.
by that October, when I'm in the high school, I end up at that Deja show that picture of us and everyone's taken at. So
That
within
was
those 5 months.
That was a Mephistopheles show, I think.
I think Blue Beats and Step Lively. I remember playing.
See, how do you guys remember that shit?
I have the craziest memory with shit like
Yeah.
that. I don't know why.
Can't do dates, but you can remember any band that played at a show.
It's something. Something like that.
They
I'm
all
somewhere
run
on the
together.
spectrum.
They all run together in my head.
Yeah.
I think the first show I ever went to was at the PWAC. Kelly Sullivan was like, "You should come to the show tonight." I was like, "Okay." I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't even like. Me and Nick had been hanging around for a while. I think that was high school, and we were like listening to ska and punk rock. But like, I had no idea what I was stepping into when it came to like hardcore music. I had no clue. And I remember bringing home a demo tape that someone gave me, and I remember playing it in my bedroom. And my mom came in like, "What are you listening to?" I'm like, "I have no idea, but I think I like it." Yeah, though I'll tell you, that was some of the most fun. Like, especially the ska and punk rock days, like going to all those ska shows at Deja One and wherever that other place is that I don't remember.
It felt like a safer place than the hardcore shows. You weren't going to get killed by a skinhead.
The hardcore shows were
You'd be surprised.
They were a different kind of fun because they were like intense, and you were like, you didn't know. Like, I'm like, I don't belong here. I remember I was wearing like a button-down shirt the first show I went to. Like, I was like, what am I doing? This is wild. Like, you felt like, you know, when you see the Ninja Turtle movie for the first time and they're like hanging out at that fucking place with the skate ring. You're like, where am I right now?
Yeah.
The PWAC had that whole vibe. And then that back room that's like, I don't know. The whole thing was like, I don't know, something like that you would see when you go to Manhattan. Like, you know, when you're like 15, 16, you get on the train.
Yeah.
You go down to like St. Mark's Place.
The first time you experience real culture. Something going on.
Into some clubs and like, it felt like that, and then...
Well, that was our first experience with, like, a DIY space.
Yeah,
where, like, it was the kids running
outside of being at, like, a bowling alley for a birthday party.
You didn't know.
No.
Right? You didn't know the kids were running that. You thought
not at all.
They were grown adults to us.
But there was no adults there.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It was
not at all.
It was like that place in Pinocchio where the kids turn into donkeys. You know, it was like
the inmates running the asylum.
And the crazy part is there was really no drugs going on that I saw as a kid.
Yeah,
like it was
not at the hardcore shows.
And nothing.
Right?
If it wasn't out in the open for you to see it.
Right. It was a pretty like chill spot. And
I mean, it was run by straight edge people, right?
Right. No, I understand that, and that probably made a huge difference at the time.
Yeah.
But you know, as a kid, it was like. It was actually a pretty safe space. You might get punched in the face accidentally.
Right.
But, like, you never saw fights. You never saw, like, any of that craziness. I don't know. The whole thing is, like, what a friggin' trip that was. I feel like, I don't know if there's stuff like that anymore for kids. Like, I traveled around a lot, and even when I was a kid, like, it wasn't like that everywhere. You know? Like, I remember going to Florida one time, and I was walking down the street, and there was, like, a hardcore show going on in this, like, storefront. And I went in there, and like no one was dancing, no one was talking to each other. It was a totally different vibe, and I was like, it's not the same here either. Wow. Like, so I don't know where, you know, I've been out of the hardcore scene for so long. I don't know where that still. I know, like, you can go to Mr. Beery's and Sinclair's, and there's shows going on. I stop in here and there, but like, I don't know if that same type of like community at that level, like the PWAC was packed every two nights a weekend.
It's coming back. It's been good the past few years.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably say there definitely was one if I were like 22 right now, you know? Yeah. But I'm not. So
to be honest, the last bigger show that I went to was when Silent Majority
played Vitus.
Yeah, played Vitus. That was the last time you probably saw me at a show.
I was with Joe and we drove you home. You came home.
I came with Eddie White.
Yeah. But you came home and
you're
Seattle
right.
Star.
I right back with you too. I forgot about that. See?
All right.
That was. But I remember like the first like chord, the whole crowd. I was like close to the front, and the whole crowd moved me with it, and like I haven't felt that feeling.
Everyone in that
10
room felt the same thing at the same time.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa. And then I got punched in the side of the head. I'm like, I'm gonna go stand in the back a little further because I'm too old for
I remember this.
I wasn't ready for this.
But it was incredible. It was like a high school reunion for me because I haven't seen a lot of those people.
Yeah.
And you know, every once in a while I'll stop in at Beery's, and like a couple of my buddies are in bands and shit. But you know, I miss that though. Like, you know, community, I feel like, especially when you get older, and I'm like single, you know, no kids, 44 now, and like there's value in having like a community around you and like some sort of social life. Otherwise, what are you going to do? Sit home and like, you know, so I don't know. I think that's the type of stuff that I always like gravitated towards, and I don't remember what really pushed me out of the hardcore scene so much. I think the music was changing a lot. Like, there was a lot more emo stuff coming out, and I wasn't, like, really into it. And then there was, like, those guys that wore the hockey gloves and pants and like kicking in the mouth all the time. And I was like, this is corny.
Yeah.
And the whole thing like turned me off. And I ended up moving to Florida for a few years and getting into like hanging out with like beat poets and hippies and shit for like a couple of years. And like, I don't know, I just kind of fell out of the whole thing. And then when I came back, I was like doing my own thing, you know.
Okay.
But I do miss it.
So speaking of like, you know, getting into junior high school years, what are some of your first jobs around town?
I think this is so stupid. My first job was dress up like Santa Claus on the corner. I was like 14. Dress up like Santa Claus.
Like at the tree lot?
On
or?
Sunrise Highway for the Christmas tree lot and
Yeah.
wave to people. And Keith McKelvey drove by and shot me with a BB gun.
Yeah. Oh,
We
no.
had beef.
My condolences. Where you hit you?
Oh, like in the chest. So I was wearing
Okay.
like big pillows.
Not that bad.
But still,
though.
got
yeah,
me.
yeah,
like
yeah.
totally got me.
Uh-huh.
That happened to me more than once in town.
Yeah, I worked in a lot of pizzerias as a kid. I worked at Mario's. I ran into him recently in Brooklyn. He's got a spot out there. He didn't recognize me. I'm like, I worked for you for like 9 years, bro. He goes, oh, tested a minkia. I guess that's what he called me. He didn't remember my fucking name.
Where was Mario's?
He was where Mario's is now. What's it?
I don't know where Mario's is.
Is it Mario's? What's the name of the one in North Lindenhurst on Wellwood?
Geno's.
Geno's. Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's Geno's. He was next door to
Avanti,
Geno's.
then whatever.
Yeah, there was a butcher shop. There
Yeah.
was Mario's. There was like that, like
Hero
crazy
Place or whatever.
It was
Crazy
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 Al's
Al's.
or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Like
Jesse.
yeah, it sold like dented cans of food.
Jesse Phillips episode. He talked about working there.
That guy was a scumbag. I hope he's not still around, but he was a dick.
Yeah.
That place was full of cockroaches, and we were like constantly fighting that. But I used to love working in pizzerias. I worked at a couple. I worked at one up on Montauk Highway. But Mario's, I always went back, and I love, like, if I could go back to delivering pizzas
Yeah.
full time and make a living at it, I might do it. Like,
Yeah.
all you do is you drive around, you smoke weed, you eat pizza.
I love jobs like that.
You go, people, and weird
Yeah.
shit happens. That's the best part, is weird
Yeah.
shit happens all the time.
Yeah.
People are like, come in. I'm like, okay. You know, like when you're 17, 18, you going in weird people's houses and
Yeah.
like, you know, you almost get robbed and like
Situations you wouldn't incur under any other circumstances.
Yeah, and you also see everything that's going on in the neighborhood everywhere. Like, I know where this guy's at, what's going on over here. Like, I don't know. It was like you know where every now you don't need to know where every street is, but I could tell you where every house, which blocks they're on. You know,
Shout outs to everybody in the pizza game. It's a real hustle.
And yeah, you make pizza all day. We would go to the butcher shop next door, and he would give us like veal cutlets. Then we'd come back and cook all that shit, and then bring it back and split it with them, and like hang out with the old butcher. And he was like this old man. I don't know. That shit was great. Like, I feel like that's something that every kid should do, is work in a pizza place or a restaurant.
Yeah.
You need a mom and pop shops to be
Yeah.
open to have that experience.
Yeah, you have like that boss that gives you bad advice.
Can't be everyone worked
like
at
you're-
Subway when they were a kid.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a shame. But like, you don't realize that guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He should not be giving you advice. You know, and like they always like
Let
that
alone
boss is
running a
like, you gotta
business.
buy this stock. You're 16, you could buy it. Give me $400 and we'll both buy it. You know, like you can't.
Sure, it's a much worse conversation these days.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I haven't worked in 13 years. You know, like I don't even know what I would do if I was gonna go like, get a normal job. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I don't know if I could handle it.
Being your own boss for so long, yeah.
Yeah, but also like people, like I get to like hide out here in this little room and not have to like I worked at service merchandise as a kid during the
Wow.
Christmas time,
Yeah.
and people would like come and talk to me and like work the register. Like one time I had to work the register. Usually like a stock boy, I'll do that. But like when you have to work the register and people are yelling and screaming, like
It's
I
the
don't
worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Horrible.
You're who they're directing whatever emotion at. Be it good, bad, or
It's brutal.
For those who don't remember service merchandise, so you would order out of a catalog and they would bring it out from the back.
there was a conveyor belt involved too.
Yeah.
I think at some point.
Yeah, me and Duke Impellizzeri.
Hell yeah.
Oh, shout out
Me
to
and Duke
Duke.
Impellizzeri worked in the. This is a great story. We work in the upstairs because people would order shit, and you put it down like this giant like
Chute or whatever.
no, what are those called? Like not an escalator, but a conveyor belt.
Yeah. There
Like
we
the
go.
Wiz. You ever work at the Wiz? Mark Green used to work at the Wiz.
Or
and
B&H,
we-
they still have that.
Yeah,
a
so we
similar
would
thing, yeah.
put the stuff on this thing, and we were the only people up there. So my stepfather was the manager, and he like made me work there or whatever. Like for Christmas, they needed people, and they were like, so me and Duke would go there. We get to work late. We would leave on our lunch break and take 2 hours, and like it was terrible. We were terrible workers, and upstairs they had like those chaise lounge backyard chairs, like the boxes. They're all in boxes, and the boxes like 7 feet long, 3 feet wide, like a giant brick.
They're as long as the thing is.
Yeah. So we pretty much built out of those. We built a giant room out of those, and then we put lounge chairs in there. And we made a HEPA filter so we could smoke cigarettes in there that ran through a vacuum cleaner. And we would just disappear in there. And people would be looking for us. And we'd slide one brick out and then climb in and pull the brick back in. And it looked like a stack of boxes, but we were in there on lounge chairs and turf. And like we decorated it and shit with like lamps and like tables. And it was like a whole living room in there. And we would just go in there and rip cigarettes in the roof of Service Merchandise.
What are you smoking back then?
Camel Lights.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to get games from my Commodore VIC-20 at Service Merchandise.
Wow.
Shows you how long ago that was.
Well, when they went out of business,
Yes.
as they were going out of business, I was still working.
Turns
there.
out people want to look and touch at the things before
Yeah,
they
they would come in and like see everything was like under glass. They had one of it, and you'd order
Right,
it.
yeah.
And you could buy stuff in the store, but they had to go get it for you.
Yeah.
And they had cool. It was just weird shit. It was like so when they were going out of business, there was like a $1,000 telescope, I remember, and I took the telescope and I stashed it. I hid it somewhere, and then by the time everything hits 90% off, they're selling like the racks on the floor, the metal tables and shit. I'm like, oh, look what I found in the warehouse. Like, it's the only piece of merchandise left, and I ended up getting it for like $100 or something like
what's
that.
Up.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really used it. I didn't get into astronomy until later. I wish I still had that little telescope. It's a good telescope for its day.
So after junior high, we're in high school, and in high school, that's the point where you get to pick elective classes. That's like the fun shit in high school every year. What were some of the electives you picked?
Media, obviously. I think I had Tracy for that, right? I took wood shop. I took electronics. It's fucked up because I took all those classes and I didn't learn. Like, I should have paid more attention. Like, the electronics class, like, I just recently in the last 5 years really started getting back into like I had to relearn how to solder. Yeah. Like, I obviously didn't learn anything from Mr. Queso.
Right. I was going to ask who taught those classes.
Mr. Queso and
what was he was electronics or he was wood?
No, he was electronics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adams? No, or was he auto?
I think I had Adams for auto. I took auto shop. Another thing, like, I don't think we ever finished that motor he had us building. There was no way with the time allotted that anybody
4.5 months.
That. Yeah, no one got
for
that thing
40
right.
minutes a day.
Dude, like, I don't know how he thought we were going to get those. Where did he even think we were going to get? We had to go get the motor ourselves. Like, go find a motor from a lawnmower.
I think about that. So you took journalism with me and him. That's when I met you.
Yes,
I was
I did
in ninth
take
grade.
journalism. Who was the journalism teacher?
Tracy was one half of it, where you learn like the computer shit.
Right.
You learn PageMaker or Quark or whatever, and
that aged like milk.
Monofusco, InDesign. Isn't that's what you would use now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do everything in Illustrator because I'm just like a man of habit.
And
Ms. Monofusco?
Well, was she married to the other Monofusco?
She was Mrs. Monofusco.
Oh,
she was married to the one that retired.
She had me and Jesse Kupferman in one class one time. Yeah. Oh, she don't like us at all. You never want me and him in the same class together. Poor teachers.
But Tracy probably bought all of that equipment in his... You know what I mean?
Yeah, he had us make... I still have that T-shirt that we made.
Yeah.
Mine was like a ninja made from a Spider-Man picture of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It was on a blue T-shirt.
I made South Park T-shirts.
How do you remember shit like that?
I
can't remember half the people's names.
I'm telling you, I'm undiagnosed on the spectrum. That's what it's got to be.
Too bad you didn't get any really cool powers.
Yeah, I'm working on it, but time's
He's the Rain Man of the podcast.
Yeah, Hot Dog Rain Man. That's my name.
Hot Dog Rain Man.
Someone threw a bunch of hot dogs on a grill once, and I said, "What's that, like 12 hot dogs?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's exactly 12 hot dogs."
I mean, he did 12.
Well, a dozen is a good guess.
Anybody can fucking visually see 12, 6 and 6.
But I did it so quick. He called me Hot Dog Rain Man after that.
Hot Dog Rain Man. I'll take it. That's not a bad.
It's not a bad one.
Oh man.
HDR. That's great.
But yeah, we all learned those obsolete programs there, and what was I gonna say? There was something in the computer room once where me, you, and you remember that kid John Benin?
Well, I took computers with I took computer programming with Dr. Weldon. He was the man.
Yeah.
And Mr. Heller.
I took that class too.
Slowey was the other guy.
I don't remember. I remember the name, but I don't remember. But Mr. Heller was the guy with the crazy comb over.
Okay.
And he would always wear like a hat. And then if he got outside, his hair was like, I don't know, 4 feet long. And he would like Mr. Softy that shit. And it was all frizzy. Do you remember Mr. Heller?
I don't at all. I remember Weldon.
Man.
I have a picture with me and Weldon because he was my lunch teacher one year.
Mr. Weldon, Dr. Weldon was the man.
Get it right.
Great dude.
Yeah.
When I got in trouble with the computers, he like got me off the hook. Like, he was like, no, he didn't. I didn't get in trouble, and a lot of people were getting in trouble. We were all doing stupid shit with the computer system at the school.
They had just put like a new network in there, like when we were in journalism together, and I remember me, you, and that guy John Bonini looking at like the fucking hub where all the wires were.
I remember him, yeah.
And he was like, I dare you to pull out the red one, and then he just pulled out the red one. Then the next day. Like, the teachers came to us like, there's something very serious. There was some sort of network failure with the computers, and we're not able to use them now. We know someone did it. You can't mess with the computers like
they didn't have cameras back then.
No, not at all. We also figured out how to use the messaging system, so you could send people on other computers in the lab, win pop-up, whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, that was me and Matt Willie. Matt Willie figured out how to go through the way we did it. He did it first. He would go through QBasic, which we were allowed to use, and navigate to the file system, and he would download this password, $PW$ was the extension on the file, and it was all the passwords for the bulletin board system. We got all the teachers' passwords, all our friends' passwords, and we were wreaking havoc on that. And then me and Mark Green were really into computer programming because we're taking that class. We're learning Pascal, and then like Visual Basic had just come out. Yeah. And I remember they were running Windows 3.1. This is so nerdy. I don't know why we're talking about it on the Lindenhurst podcast, but we're running
someone's going to enjoy this.
We need to know what operating system.
I wrote a macro program that would go in, and if you ran it, it was like I would install on the computer a little question mark icon, and if you ran it, it would open up the system settings and go to the control panel and change all the colors for that theme to white. The text,
so you
the
can't
background,
see anything?
Everything would turn white except for like a couple and there's no way, it was impossible to fix. And I ran that on the network and people were clicking on it, and I got in trouble. I got in a lot of trouble for that one.
Yeah, that's way crazier than what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, like, they had no sort of...
wire out.
Well, not even that. They had no security on the computers at all. So
they used to run Fortress. It was called Fortress. They started running that later, but that really stopped you. But you could send net messages.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And freak people out.
People had no idea. Nobody would, 3 people were computer literate then, you know?
Mm. Yeah, and Dr. Weldon was pretty much running all the networks and everything when I was there. I guess I'm a year older than you.
You are...
Or 2 years.
You're 3 years older than me.
Oh, shit. And
you were a senior when I was a freshman.
What year did you graduate, Vito?
99.
He's a year younger than you.
Yeah, my sister graduated in 2000.
Yeah.
And Maddie, I don't even know.
So we cover a whole 4 years.
Yeah. That's wild because when I was a senior, you were
a freshman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was born in December, so I was a year older, but I guess that doesn't. I was 19 when I.
You got a birthday like Jared Dowd,
December 1st,
where you're older than the people you graduated with.
Right.
Yes.
Right. That did not give me any advantages.
No, it does not. It holds you back.
So yeah.
So did you end up going to college?
I went to Nassau right out of school. My father passed away right as I turned 18, and I was gonna go away to school, and then I decided I stayed home. My mom, my brother, my sister, and I went to Nassau, and I fucking hated it. They made you take I took yoga as my elective there because you had to take a gym class,
I took bowling.
I would just sleep in yoga class, and I didn't want to be there, and it was not fun. And I did have a good time, met a lot of friends there and stuff, but I only stayed for I think I stayed 2 semesters.
Okay.
And then eventually I ended up going away to Florida Gulf Coast University. And that was a trip and a half, dude. That was the campus was brand new. Everything was the whole place was so unorganized. I had a crackhead roommate, and
legitimate actual.
Straight up, he was doing heroin and smoking meth, and
Florida.
I'm not gonna say his name, but he was a real character, and it got real weird. But he ended up robbing like the commissary where the food comes in, like your parents send you packages.
Yes.
He like put during Christmas break. I was away. I was at home. He they have a video of him climbing up in the window with a stocking cap on his face, and he's like climbs in. It's Christmas break. No one's at the school, and he goes in. He starts opening up boxes, and he finds a box of cookies in the video. They show me the video.
In the video
at the police station. They showed me the video. They played it on my own television, which they had taken from my apartment when they confiscated all the shit. Anyway, he was like, he pulled the mask up to like the stocking cap up to eat cookies, and then he must have been doing heroin, and he fell asleep on the floor in there, and they found him in there.
Okay.
So when I got home from school, there was like a police line tape across my dorm room, and all my shit was gone. It's like, why is my shit gone? I find out what happens. I go down there. My TV's in like their boardroom, the one from my living room. What happened was he took all my shit, my Xbox, my TV, brought it all in his room while I was gone, and like was playing video games or whatever in his room.
Gotcha.
And they just confiscated all his shit. And like they wanted me to prove it was my TV. I'm like, if you pop the VCR, the TV will come. The video will come out, and it'll be Jaws 1. and okay, like what does that tell me? And it was. They popped it out.
How else would you prove it?
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, he was a real character, and he got in a lot. So he would get us in a lot of trouble. There was I got so many stories about that dude. But the long story short is they took the police line tape off the door, but they told us, we're moving you. We're not putting you back in that apartment. And they moved us downstairs. So now I still have the key card for that room.
Gotcha.
So I was like, and also I was 24. Most of these kids were like 18, 19. Just like I was like the oldest kid in the pod over there. So I had this whole 4-bedroom suite with a kitchen and 2 bathrooms all to myself.
Put anyone else in there?
No, and they didn't have anybody registered for it either. So I had the key.
Gotcha.
And my other 2 roommates had dropped out. They were gone. So I just moved up there, but I didn't move all my shit. I just like made it like a crash pad, and then we'd have huge parties there. And then the police would come, and they'd be like, "Whose room is this?" And we'd be like, "We don't know." And then we'd be like, "You guys need to leave." And we'd all leave, and they'd be like, "Whose room?" And they'd be like, "We don't know." And they would just have to leave. And so I had like an extra apartment for like 2 semesters while I was there.
Nice.
And I got to do a little Van Wilder action up there, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It was super fun.
What were you majoring in?
Oh, English literature.
Okay.
You know what? For me, college, I wasn't there really to like get a degree and go into a job. So I took like oceanography, and I learned about plate tectonics, and I took cooking classes, and I took mostly electives. I don't even think I fulfilled my math. That I just whatever I needed, and I just didn't go to those math classes. Like I don't give a fuck about math. So I was really there just to like take classes I liked. And I would go shark fishing every night, and I would get up every morning and like bum around on the lake. They had sailboats and shit, and I was really there to like, you know, experience going away to school and maybe take some classes that I thought I'd be interested in. And I figured I was going to go home and go back. I was selling cars right before I left. I was selling BMWs, and I was making so much money. I was like, life's fucking easy mode. I'll just go and do stuff and learn stuff and travel and. You know, and then, like, you know, life happens, and now I'm trapped in Lindenhurst for the rest of my life. I actually like it here, but, you know, I can't leave. I really tied myself in.
Well, you're definitely probably the first in, like, the revitalization of town to, like, say, okay, I'm going to stay here, and as opposed to just abandoning the place because it sucks, I'm going to make it better.
To be honest, I would have been out if my whole family, like, I'm real family-oriented. Like, my mom's here. My brother literally lives a block from the office. My sister lives by the water. I actually just moved to Oakdale, but it was like too much to be here. I never left Lindenhurst, so I just got a house in Oakdale, and I'm like, I'm liking a little bit of space between me and Lindenhurst. Like,
sure.
But sometimes I'm here 16-hour days, and this is pretty much, I spend way more time here in Lindenhurst and in this building than anywhere else. And like, I felt like once I like embraced, like, I'm gonna be here, my family's never gonna move, and like. Once you embrace that, I was like, let's just, like, when we got this place, we were like, we're staying in Lindenhurst. We're going to build this place, and we're going to stay here and just, you know, what do they say? Grow roots where your seeds are planted.
Yeah.
You know, kind of embrace that. But on the other side of the coin, like, I'm just trying to travel as much as I can. You know what I mean? In short bursts, longer bursts. And my business is kind of designed so that we can, like, if I need to go wherever, I can work from my laptop. And my brother could be here, and he can handle the physical stuff. And we can kind of vice versa. We can do, like, vice versa on that to a certain extent. So I really want it to be modular, so I can travel as much as I want. If I want to go live somewhere for a couple months, I want to be able to do that. But when it comes down to it, Lindenhurst, like, there was no revival yet when I decided to stay here. No. You know, it was just like, okay, we're here. Let's just do everything we can to make this conducive for us. So we built this place, and we built the last place, and now, right now, we're building the place next door, and we're just trying to expand and keep our little niche in the town and support every other business that we can. That's like our number one thing right now is supporting all the other local businesses so that we can keep the thing rolling, keep the train rolling.
They say high tide raises all ships, right?
Yeah, that's a great saying, and that's something that we like really live by because,
Definitely.
like, even if there was another barbershop, like we work with barbershops all the time. Like, you know, like we make videos about other barbershops. Like we do have a whole series of them, and really, like, what we're trying to do is bring like classic American barbering back into the zeitgeist and like bring that back into like the culture. And like, you know, in the 70s people started wearing long hair and barbers kind of gave way to salons. Yeah. And barbers were, you know, barbering is the oldest profession, one of the oldest professions in America or in the world. And it was like the one thing that you could do all over the place. You can't get a haircut on the internet. Like it's timeless. It's always going to be there. It's always been there. You know, back to the Egyptians, like, you know, so, you know, it just feels like if we could bring that American barber culture back, like, you know, it's been going through so many different iterations, like, you know, like the barbershop, like the movies, the barbershop, like that, like in black culture, it's such a ubiquitous, like setting for all sorts of stuff. And I feel like white people kind of started going to salons and lost that. And like as a kid, I always remember going to barbershops and hearing crazy stuff and like meeting weird people. And like, I don't know, it was like a place, it was all guys, you know, like, Did you go to Venice Barber when you were a kid?
I went to John M's.
Okay, yeah. So like, you know, it's like everybody from high school's in there, and like you, and your mom's not there. You dare not walk in there with your mother. Like,
old
you, like,
Italian men giving my dad booze and Playboys are on the fucking thing to read. Yeah.
And like that was for me, and that was just like a little hole in the wall, you know, barbershop that was just, you know, it was perfect. And like your friends, some of your friends worked there and cut hair, you know, and like, I don't know, I always wanted that. When I was a kid, my dad had a barber chair in our house. Like his grandfather was a barber. Actually, his father was a barber, and his uncle was a barber. So he had this old barber chair. And I remember my mom got rid of it, and I always said, like, I want to have a barber chair of my own one day, like in my house. And now, like, you know, I have a barber shop, and I think I was just talking to Maddie today. I'm like, if you go in there, it's like magic. It feels like magic in there to me. Like everything's original and everything's kind of, like I said, period correct. And I used, you know, when we were designing that place, we used everything that was pre-existing that we could. The original floors, original tin ceilings. We left the holes in the walls.
That
the
was
original
a law
paint.
Office before?
What's that? It was an insurance company.
It was a funeral home back in the day,
Before
right?
It was the
viewing room for the other funeral home.
Yeah, it was the Lindenhurst Funeral Home viewing room, supposedly.
The one that was on Helling down in, like, across the street.
Yeah, I think that girl, Christy Argyle, told me about that it was a viewing room. So the whole thing.
Some ghost hanging out in there.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. There's a hatch in the floor.
Yeah, next question. Is it haunted? Or is that like, what do you call it? Like a Silence of the Lambs place down there? Or
so the downstairs is like made out of actual trees instead of like planks and boards. So like the supports are all trees, and it's got a poured concrete floor now down there, but very low ceilings.
Gotcha.
It's filled with well, if you look here in the lab, all the furniture in the lab came out of that insurance company, and it's all like Tiger Oak teacher desks from the 30s.
Yeah.
For like you know the teacher desks you had in elementary school? They're like like 48 inches long, and like 3 or 4 feet deep, like
war profiteering. You know what I mean? Like industrial steel, fucking.
Well, PH is probably still full of them. You know.
Oh, so I grabbed as many as I could fit. I'm still trying to like jam them in there. I like the one that you put the typewriter on and it folds in, and like something about old desks and old filing cabinets, wood filing cabinets, like
goes for everything. Radios, guitars, amps. You know.
Yeah, you know it.
So when you got back from college, that's when you started planting the seeds for the business.
I guess when I came back from college, I started working at Cablevision. I forget who
I remember that.
I think I went
Gino's
with
brother.
Vito's brother?
Gino. Nick LoBianco. He worked with you, right?
I don't know if I think I remember him.
Yeah.
Him and I think Mark Green was the one who got me to go work there. It was like, we'll have fun. It was a really fun job. First couple of years, they had like a ping pong table in the break room, and it was like they were really going for that.
You're not on a pole though, right? This is like customer service or whatever.
This was technical support on the phone.
Yeah.
And then we ended up somehow becoming lead techs, so we weren't even on the phones. Walk around, like take over irate customer phone calls, just walk around on the floor.
This is in Syosset?
This was originally in Melville.
Okay.
Before they closed to Melville.
Gotcha.
So I was there for like a few years, and it was fun until they put you back on the phones, and it was like, we got to get blood from stone. I think when Altice bought them out or something happened, they really changed. Like they went from like you work at Google to like every second they started tracking everything and recording all the calls and all this stuff, and it was like, this isn't fun anymore. But I was making really good money as a level 2 there, and I was like, I could go up into management here, and it's 40-hour week. There's no overtime. And then I can just go do all my hobbies like a normal person. Yeah. And I really thought at that point in my life that I could just work a regular job and then kind of, only do my hobbies and my interests and like that sort of stuff on the side. Mm. And I think what happened was I was back on the phones, and it started like grating on me, and I hated it more and more and more until it was like, I don't want to go to fucking work anymore. And the girl that I was dating at the time said, you know what you should do? Just take one of your ideas, because I'm like always writing down business ideas, and she was, take one of your ideas, give yourself 24 hours to pick one, and then roll it out. And then quit your job. Or what I really did was I got fired, and then I got unemployment to pay for me while like I got fired for, I guess, using too many sick days, or I just wasn't doing my job that great. You know what I mean? Like, I hated it. So I think I ended up on unemployment, and instead of looking for a new job, I I decided I was going to do this shaving company. That was the original idea, the Holy Black. The Holy Black is like a saying I heard one time on Reddit, actually. I think it was in a forum of guys who do like cowboy action shooting. They shoot old guns.
Alec Baldwin kind of shit.
Yeah, but like, no.
Too soon.
Wow. No, they shoot like 6-shooters and shotguns, but they use black powder.
Gotcha.
Big clouds of smoke. Uh-huh. But there's 2 types of black powder. There's like the guys who use the old school black powder, and then these guys who use the new stuff called Pyrodex. It's like super clean, and like it's not corrosive for the gun, and it's whatever. So the guys who shoot the old stuff, who do it old school, they're like, oh no, I only shoot the Holy Black.
Yeah.
And I was like, that sounds so cool.
Yeah.
I just love the way it sounded. I had never heard it before. I Googled it. It doesn't come up. I'm like, what does this mean? I tried to look more into it, and nothing came up.
No, so you got to talk to an old prospector or something to get that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so I went to bed that night, and I woke up in the middle of the night. I swear to God, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was like, the Holy Black. And I wrote it down, and I went to bed, and the next morning I ordered bottles. And I knew I wanted to do like an old Gold Rush style aesthetic, hand-cut paper labels, aged, like, and then I wanted to do fragrances and aftershaves that like were outrageous. Like back then, what was it, like 2010, like the wet shaving, like the art of shaving, it just didn't even come out yet. Like that stuff was all coming into the forefront, and the only flavors of shaving cream, like old school shaving cream, was the classic stuff: sandalwood, lavender. You know what I mean? So I was like buying all these fragrances off the internet.
The lilac vegetal stuff.
Yeah. Oh, lilac vegetal, the cat piss, bro.
Yeah.
Some people it smells good on. You know that?
My dad loved
I
that
got
shit.
it. Listen, I
don't
have
know
it in
what
my
any of
bathroom,
this
but I
is.
would never wear it on a first date. You know what I
No,
mean? You
same.
never know how it's going to end up.
But I'm actually wearing one of your, I guess one of the first ones you made with the gunpowder.
Gunpowder spice. So that was
Yeah.
one of the
I'm
like
wearing
that was
it
like
currently. Yeah.
Yeah.
the second thing I ever made, and I'm like, we got gunpowder and Old Spice because my grandfather always wore Old Spice, my favorite fragrance, and they changed it sometime in the '60s. It was Schultz and Old Spice, and they changed the formula. They've also changed the formula again now. Like if you can find 1960s Old Spice, and if I see it on eBay, I grab it. It's nothing like it's a different animal.
Gotcha.
So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I'm a fan
I
of canoe as well. You can't find that really anymore.
yeah, high karate, all that stuff. I have bottles of a lot of that stuff. I'm like obsessive.
If you can
about
make a faux canoe, I'll buy you out.
I can make canoe.
Yeah.
I can definitely make canoe.
All right.
You mean like an actual canoe, right?
Call it
Make
kayak
a
or some shit.
birch canoe. I always wanted to. We'll talk about.
Yeah.
I can talk for 2 hours about different types of canoe construction that I would like to do at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, no, let's
We'll
not
have
do
a part two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Canoe part two.
Coming soon.
Next question.
Cool. So yeah. So you start tinkering with like
So
shaving
I started
products
making aftershaves.
just in your house.
Yeah,
Just-
I started giving them away as gifts, like to my friends, and then people like kind of wanted refills, and I made like Bay whiskey lime. I was making it with whiskey from the liquor store as the base instead of because I didn't know where to get perfumers alcohol at the time, and I thought it would be cool, which also probably illegal, I guess, to use whiskey in an aftershave. Can I say that? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was a long, allegedly.
Right. I'm not a cop.
So I was coming out and I would post them on Reddit. I'm like, look at this stuff I made, and people are like, can I buy that? I'm like, yeah. I made like an Etsy shop. Then I made a website. Oh man.
Before we go further, there was a time where you were like recreating movie props and shit.
I did that in between while I was working in Cablevision. I was doing movie props.
How did you get into that? Because some of that shit was insane.
No, it's just one of those things.
And your Spaceballs Halloween costume.
Okay, that is after I got into movie props.
Gotcha.
So, you know what it is? I'm like Goonies. I don't know what it is about movie props. I love them. I want them. When I see them in the movie, I want them. Like Indiana Jones, I want those fucking Shakta stones or whatever they're called. Like, and when I watched the Goonies, I wanted that doubloon. Bad. I want the copper bones. I want the doubloon. And back then, you couldn't go on like eBay and buy them.
Yeah.
Like, you could, but they were like $600.
Right.
And no one had 3D printers, So I was like, I'm going to sculpt this. And I had to learn mold making and sculpting and, go and find all the pictures from the movie and print them out, And it was fun. But I think that was one of the first movie props that I made.
Then I remember the Ninja Turtles mutagen thing.
Yeah, Jay Koza's got one of those.
Yeah.
I made the Ninja Turtle ooze canister.
Yeah.
I made the needle sword from Game of Thrones.
Yes.
That's I think the first thing I ever sculpted, but it took a lot longer to finish because I had to send it out to be cast in bronze. That was before I could do my own casting. I had to send everything out. So I was casting everything in wax on my kitchen table, like in my apartment. Literally, my roommate at the time was like, "What are you building?" I made like sonic screwdrivers from Doctor Who and Spaceballs ring, and then I made a giant vacuum form buck for Dark Helmet's helmet.
Yeah.
And I sent it out to a dude in Canada with a big vacuum form table because mine was like 8" by 8" for making like small parts. I sent it out to him, and he pulled the molds for the head, and then I mounted like a welding mask assembly inside of it. And it was just made of like styrene. I still have it.
Yeah.
I have the whole costume, just some parts missing. I sculpted President Scroob on the belt buckle, and that costume requires wearing a full bodysuit.
Right.
It's really embarrassing
Uh-huh.
when you're fat and you're just like, hey, I'm fat.
Here I am.
Fat dark helmet. It's
Yeah.
really not a good look.
Rick Moranis wasn't fat.
But I would say that costume's like 92% movie accurate.
Yeah.
And but in the prop building world, like there's a whole forum of these guys. Now they're all 3D printing everything.
Right.
But like 99% movie accurate or get the fuck out. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I got into that. I started selling that stuff on Etsy. And then it got on one of those websites like thisissocool.com or like, I forget what this is why, I don't know, whatever, some bullshit. And it like blew up and I was selling so many of them.
No cease and desist from anyone ever? Or you're not really selling enough to get on anyone's radar?
No, and I was selling on Etsy, and I never had a website for it. And
Gotcha.
then, I figured that was fine. And then I guess I think I was doing that. I was doing something else at the time, but whatever. Yeah, and then I moved into the Holy Black because me and my brother tried to start a vape juice company called Juice Willis, and we had like stupid names for all the flavors, like Protection Nectarine and shit like that.
That's the dream job, to make up marijuana strain names or vape juice names.
But then
someone got paid to come up with alien piss.
Yeah.
That's the funniest thing about weed being legal now. They didn't change like the stupid names of the strains.
Like, imagine you had to use
you have to walk into like a legal dispensary and be like, can I get a purple orgasm, please?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine you had to use like the scientific name.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
no.
And they had variation. Yeah.
Neither can drug addicts.
So yeah, that's how I ended up at the Holy Black.
Okay. So just began with doing like mail order.
Yeah, I was just selling them on Etsy.
Yeah.
Out of your house at this point?
Yeah, out of my mom's basement because I had nowhere to build the stuff. I had I had like a 10 by 10 like little workshop down there for my movie props and for my bottles, and it's still set up down there. Actually, a lot of the bottles are still there. It's like a shrine because I haven't been down there to clean it out. Terrible. Yeah, and then to be honest, what happened after that is I got super busy, like crazy busy. It was supposed to be like a side hustle.
How time consuming is it to make one piece? You know what I mean? Like,
one at a time?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you're not selling a lot. It's like little by little. But then it became so busy. I was not ready to scale. And Reddit really sent me so many people. They're like, I want to try that. I would send out like sample packs. And then I would sell so much of it. And it was kind of like bootleg. You know what I mean? It wasn't like from some big company. It was like no one else was doing that in that niche. And it was really something I was really into. I had all my grandfather's straight razors. I had all these old books on how to make aftershaves and pomades, and I have like a stack of these books now. But like, I would just take old fragrance recipes out of them too, and make stuff and do limited editions, and like try to carry that forward. But what happened was I got so busy that I couldn't even fulfill the orders I was getting. I was like falling behind, and like way behind. So I went to my brother. I'm like, yo, I'm quitting this. I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna get a job. This is too much. Like, I'm trying to do this. Like, I want to enjoy myself. This is supposed to be like a side hustle, and then I'll get another job and like use this just to make like some money on the side. And he goes, "Is it working?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Works a little, it'll work a lot." He's like, "I'll come on board, but we got to go like all the way with this thing." I was like, "I don't know if I want to do that." I'm like, "Let's just do it like a side." And anyway, he won, and he came on board, and he became like the business side of things. Like, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll do everything that involves a computer. Like, all he needs is his phone and time to get around and talk to people. And he fosters relationships with customers. He handles all,
He's the one you see mostly on social media.
Yeah, he's the front of, like, the
sporting the merchandise and all that, yeah.
Yeah, he came in maybe 3 or 4 years after I started the company. He's been with me, I think, 12 years, 11 years. And like, he's become the face of the Holy Black, which is like a godsend to me. I don't want to be in like Instagram videos. Like, I'll do the stuff when it's technical. I'll explain stuff on video.
Yeah.
We have Box Visuals who shoots everything. He's an ace. Like, he makes it very easy to do. Like, if I do it by myself with just the camera, it takes like 700 takes. But he comes in, he directs. It's nice. So Maddie came in and he started setting up events and like big events, going to like all the tattoo conventions. We hit every tattoo convention in the country. Start doing hair shows, throwing after parties for hair shows. Like, the kid, he came in hard. Like, we went to Chicago one time on like 2-day notice. This millionaire dude who owns another company invited Maddie. He's like, "Come out and see what we do at these hair shows." Because we were really young as a brand. And we just came out with the pomades and getting into the hair industry and not just the shaving. And so we go there, and what we do is, now we've been attending these shows and meeting all these like famous in quotes, hairdressers, barbers, barbershop owners, salon owners, all that stuff. And like, a lot of these people have huge Instagram followings and followings in salons and barbershops. So we made friends with a lot of these guys, and then we flew out to Chicago, and before we left, we printed out like 1,000 flyers with pictures of all of our friends that are like influencers in the scene.
Yeah.
And we handed them out at the show. Me, Maddie, and like 3 or 4 of our friends. We brought a step and repeat with us. We shipped it there and we left it there at the end of the thing. And Maddie booked over the phone a photographer, videographer, and a bar, a giant nightclub. And it was a Monday night because they have it Sundays, Mondays. He goes, listen, you guys are open Mondays? They're like, yeah. He let me throw a party there. You can keep the bar. I keep the door. And I will fill your bar tonight on a Monday. And they're like, okay, whatever you want. Mm-hmm. So we rented a limo, and then we went to the hair show, and we walked around all day, and we invited people. And obviously we told our friends, like, yo, we're going to put you on a flyer, and we're going to tell people you're going to be at this party. So now all these hairdressers come to this party because there's all these famous...
I'm picturing Vidal Sassoon and Paul Mitchell. And
Paul Mitchell, I got in trouble. We got in trouble with Paul Mitchell because... I'm not going to say the name of the company, but the company a lot of these barbers worked for, they were influencers for this particular brand, and it was sponsored by Paul Mitchell.
Gotcha.
And like we got a call like, yo, Paul Mitchell says our guys can't go to any more Holy Black parties, and they would still sneak over to the parties like after hours. So Maddie put together a party in 2 days with over 1,000 people. There was a line around the block. We pulled up with a limo with all the influencer guys in it. They came out. There was a red carpet. And there was over 1,000 people there. We rented lights and smoke and dancers, and on 2 days' notice, the kid threw a 1,000-person party that was bumping. There was people up on stage doing like live haircuts, like that's their thing, and no one ever did that before at like a after party. Like they usually have sit down dinners, and like we packed the club out, and the kid did it, like I said, with like 30 phone calls and like 8 hours of work, and it went off without a hitch, and we didn't know if it was going to work. So as soon as he did that, I was like, and he did that like 4 or 5 times in different cities across the country.
So you kind of like manufactured hype for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, he just threw parties.
It was a good time.
Maddie's he's been throwing parties. That's what he's good at.
I recall this, and
you've been to some of his
infamous Halloween party that didn't happen.
Actually, that party that got shut down by the cops before it started did happen. We moved it to another venue.
Gotcha.
We had midget bowling, and it was one of the best parties we've ever had. It was smaller. But we moved it to like Oceanside last minute.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like, he gets it done, and he's been throwing that same Halloween party since he's 10 years old.
There you go.
He's been throwing Halloween parties his whole life. And
midget bowling when he was 10.
So I'm like, okay, you make some video, you make some parties, make some videos. And so now he's like the media. Him and Box do the media, and I do the product side.
Anyone who's seen any of your guys' stuff, your media's on point. It always has been.
Some of it's fun, some of it's silly, some of it's serious. They're crushing it.
It covers all the grounds, but even just like the look, the aesthetic of everything you guys do is top notch, and it shows.
I appreciate that because I take a lot of pride in the aesthetic of everything that we do.
Hell
and
yeah.
like, I don't know, we always end up talking about the Holy Black. I just like go back into like, Holy Black interview mode. But we can talk about it.
But like around this time, like when you're on the come up, also barbershop culture and tattoo culture at the same time are really on the rise. Yeah. So like you're kind of growing together.
Bin had on the rise, kind of though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, even before that, but
sure. I mean, I feel like
very much so in the past like 15 years.
Yeah,
tattoos have changed a lot, and I think doing all the tattoo conventions really changed the way that I look at that whole industry, and we made so many friends, and like we've done so many.
When you see the community aspect of things like that, it's a different game altogether.
We have so many friends that are either artists or work in shops, or that like we have parties here like monthly, and I got people want to come in and they do free Holy Black tattoos. We have like over 500 people with Holy Black tattoos.
It's crazy
because we're giving them away. It's not like, but like, and they're not just like a Holy Black. They have like, they're all different designs, and every artist makes their own flash sheet, and like. The only rules, it just has to say THB or the Holy Black or something like that on it.
When do they all have to drink the Kool-Aid?
I mean, you know what? Like, I'm at the age where, like, I'll get a tattoo. I don't care about my tattoo.
Yeah.
I just want to get me a tattoo of anything.
Uh-huh.
And, like, if you see a cool tattoo,
yes,
I'm like, all right, give me it. I'll take it.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Especially for free tattoos, I'm not turning them down. Especially if they're really good tattoos.
Yeah, they ain't cheap. That's for sure. Mm-hmm.
So, tip your tattoo artists, people.
Cool. So at what point do you move from your mother's basement into your own space?
I mean, so what happened was I moved. I ran out of space in my mother's basement in like less than a year. But but I stuck with it. And then I think by year 2, I was doing it in my apartment, and then also like keeping stock in my mother's basement. And then when Matty came on, he owned music studios.
Right.
He owned 2 music studios.
West Babylon.
So here's the story of how that works out. He puts me in a 10 by 10 studio room, and then we move into a 20 by 20. And then
Slowly you take over a half.
Every time someone wants to rent a room, I get kicked out, pretty much, until we got like a garage door bay, and in the same building. And then Maddie actually built out the next door, the next warehouse next door. We rented that, and we built a studio in there. I think you guys had a room in there.
Joe did, yeah.
It looks like a dungeon, like
yes.
like a BDSM.
You got to
dungeon.
walk through that weird dark thing before you get to the. Yep.
That's like the first thing we designed together. That place was cool. You know, it had all the you know, the lights and whatever.
So that was you?
My gold frames.
You designed that hallway and everything?
The gold frames on the left wall.
Fairly recently, it's been redone. Joe's out of that studio now.
All those hanging lights in there.
Yeah.
Those are all just like porch lights turned upside down from Home Depot. But I wanted like a gothic appearance. We put the tiles. We put the tin ceiling tiles in there, I think, and that place. It's a feat of engineering to build one of those places that has air conditioning in all the rooms without.
Yeah, where it works right and everything's how you want it to be.
Spoiler: it didn't work right.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah,
and that's West Babylon off of Edison.
Right, by the purple porno building.
Yeah, so we rented that whole place, and we had like half of it.
Uh-huh.
And then eventually some like producers came in and wanted the big space that we were in.
Yeah.
So we rented it to them, and then we rented another the warehouse next door to that.
Right.
So I made a mistake. Maddie was in Bell Street,
gotcha.
where we were originally. Then we moved to Nancy Street.
And
we took over. We built that one ourselves. He did most of the building, and I just helped design it. It was really his business, the studio. And then we rented the place next door together. And now the studio was no longer his business. It paid the rent.
Right, you were subsidizing your cost of that place by renting out.
Paid the rent and all the utilities and everything, and we had a 2,500 square foot warehouse.
That's what's up.
And we built this office, but like half the size.
Right.
We built a lab, but all white and a quarter the size of the lab we have now. And we did the same thing: pinball machines and you know, silly shit, skateboard ramps. And
Fantasy Factory.
We
basically.
made the best out of 2,000 square feet, and then it just came to the point where we needed more space. We were maxed out, so this building came available to us. A friend of the family owns it, and I guess we've been here like 3 years.
Okay.
And that's today. It's a long freaking story.
As the business scales, how are you learning to like deal with, you know, higher demand for things like that and higher output?
It's the scaling. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to like because you get like leaps instead of like you go from doing this much. It's not like it always gradually. Like if it's growing gradually, you say, okay, next month I'm going to order more of this.
Are all the products made in house?
All the products are made on Long Island.
Okay.
I used to make all the products. But I can't. I'm ordering 10,000 pieces at a time now.
Gotcha.
So
what is made here? Just the limited release stuff?
Just the limited release stuff.
Okay.
The shaving soap, I still have to make myself. There's no contract manufacturer that I've ever seen that can make hot process soap.
Okay.
At scale. Like, so, as in, you can't do 50-gallon batches of it. You got to do like, I do like 10-gallon batches.
I saw a pallet of the texture powder when we were coming in here.
Yeah, texture powder, I order 10,000 pieces because it's just like, now I'm at the point where, but also you have to make sure it doesn't go bad. Like, it's only good for like 3-4 years on the shelf. You want to sell it in the first,
There's
6
a shelf
months.
life, yeah.
You want to sell it in 6 months so you can keep the turnover rate. So like those are things you have to juggle. Also, I have a worker that handles all the shipping. I used to ship from another warehouse. I just sent all my product to a warehouse and I paid them per shipment. They shipped it. That's called a fulfillment center.
Right.
But I lost a lot of the control over my business. Like, I like to throw free shit in the order. I like to, we used to like to put like free shop rags. And like when we started doing fulfillment, they weren't doing that. I'd have to like make things to go in.
You wanted to make, when people get something in the mail, it should feel special.
Yeah, or when I see an order from somebody I know, or somebody, like, now I feel like I know a lot, like 90% of my customers, like I know a lot of them by name. So like if I see it, I'll write a little note if I'm doing the orders. But like or I'll tell the girl who's working. I'm like, oh, that guy sent him. Like I go through the orders in the morning when I come in. I'm like, yo, send him some extra. What's it called? You having some problem? With
John's
your,
mic technique is lacking.
I can't keep it up, man.
It's all right. Don't spit on it.
But so you're in barbershops all over. Like how far are you reaching with that?
We only ship in America to barbershops, and I think we're in about as of today, like 547 barbershops.
That's what's up.
Yeah, and you know, when we were deciding whether we were going to open a barbershop, it was like, will other people want to buy pomade from another barbershop? So we had the pomade company first, so I felt like the barbershop's more of a like a showroom for the products than like, it's not like we're a barbershop that makes pomade. You know what I mean? So like the barbershop's an extension of the product, and I want you to be able to go in there and step into the whole aesthetic and like, get the products used on you, and then say, okay, I'm going to start buying these products. And that's the way I look at the barbershop.
It's like a tasting room for
your
product.
Almost like that. Yeah. And like you can go in there and have you want to have your groomsmen party there or whatever, bachelor party. It's like that kind of space. So
it's the Holy Black Lookbook.
The lookbook.
So yeah, the barbershop kind of coincides now with like the revitalization of the village.
Oh yeah.
But also COVID.
We came out right. We opened right after the COVID lockdown ended. It was like perfect timing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have been absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
Like I feel bad for barbershops that were going through it during COVID.
Yeah, it was dicey for a while.
I mean, to be honest, they gave away so many loans and grants during that, though. I kind of wish the business was running.
Yeah.
If I could,
the PPP.
But paying rent on Wellwood is not cheap. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know if it would have worked out. You know what I mean? So it worked out in the long run. I got, we weren't going to open a barbershop. It was that Kevin had just left his shop and he was like, I need a place to cut. We had him cutting in the warehouse during COVID. You know what I mean?
You were doing like speakeasy barbershop.
Yeah, we were just doing it on the DL, and like it was great. And he was just kind of like, he was like a resident here. He needed a place to go, and we did that for a while. And he's like, I really want to do a shop, so we decided. And then our buddy's father was shutting down that insurance company. He's like, I think he's going to lease it out. I'm like, well, I want first dibs. Lindenhurst is going to blow up, I feel like, and it needs a high-end barbershop.
Yeah.
On Wellwood Avenue, on a corner, like a brick corner building. Like, how am I supposed to turn that down?
Yeah.
We did a lot of stuff to change the way that building looks, but the bones were there.
Shout outs to the, what's his name, sign painter guy.
Oh, Southpost Signs?
Yeah.
He's a killer. And like everything in there is designed by hand. Everything in there is handmade, and like, even just the old cases, they were made in Brooklyn in the 20s. Like, all like old glass in them, the original glass, like stuff like that. You can't, like, you find it, you need to buy it, and then where are you going to put it? Like that old thing in the back is a bookie window from a racetrack. It still says like bookkeeper on it, and like we saw it at an antique shop. So when we built that place, we literally rented a 33-foot I think it was a 33-foot U-Haul truck, and we made a loop through Connecticut and upstate New York, and we went to like architectural salvage spots and antique shops, and we hit everything we could hit, and we filled the whole truck with antiques from, like stupid, like I still have things lying around I haven't found a use for, because I have like a 400-gallon copper still like hanging out on the, like, and I'm like, I have to have this. We put it in the barbershop for a little while, and it's taking up too much space. And now it's just sitting here, like all these old trunks and like, I got a phone booth and like all this. I'm like,
you're going to make a steampunk movie one day and it's all going to work.
In your head, the space is always bigger. So you buy everything up and then, I had a jail door here for 5 years. I've been trying to get rid of this jail door. Some guy finally put it on like Marketplace. Some guy finally came and picked it up, and now I just saw him selling it. He's trying to sell it now because it weighs 800 pounds.
If you're making a sex dungeon, we know a guy that's got a door.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Yeah, so what's the dynamic now with you and like all the other businesses in town?
I mean, we've been trying to work together. We've been working a lot with Ruby's. Ruby Soho's, like, we did some like weird takeover at their place where we brought like Rick dressed up like Pit Viper Rick, and he went in there and like eating sandwiches and being loud, and they did like a free giveaway. I don't know what game they played. He did some sort of like trivia or like off the cuff trivia game or something. and we try to bring Moonies, try to bring them down for anything that we're doing. Like when we do events, Bakudo is like my favorite place to eat in the whole town.
Shout out Zach.
Zach's the man. I don't know. Billy from Restoration is like the best dude ever. We worked together with him on the car show and this event.
He's another of the originals who were like,
he
part of the,
saw the vision, and he also built a business that's perfect for this town.
Yeah,
and he gives so much money to charity, and he built a nonprofit.
He is a nonprofit, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's a G, and I can't say enough good stuff about that dude.
Cool.
And Sand City, Village Sand City, another one. I don't know, everybody who's got something going on here. My friend Danica owns a salon on, a lot of people probably know her, on Wellwood. I can never remember the 43113.
Some numbers. Yeah.
So bad with numbers. But she's a killer. She's killer with color. So I don't know. There's so many great. The pizzeria is crushing. Those guys are the best. Matty lives across the street, so he goes there every single day. I don't know. There's so much good stuff going on. I really can't say enough. Good. I would love to see Montauk Highway get incorporated eventually. Pull in parking on Montauk Highway and make it 2 lanes here, like they do in Babylon. I know people would hate that.
People lose their shit.
I'll tell you that you could really build businesses.
Be another traffic jam, yeah. But I guess that leads us into best and worst of the Hearst, though. Let's go back to growing up, what some of your favorite spots were. Obviously, you mentioned working for pizzerias. What was your favorite pizza?
Palermo Pizza, Sunrise Highway. You know that one?
I remember. Yeah.
Is that across from Dunkin' Donuts?
It hasn't been brought up.
Across from Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Sunrise. Semolina crust.
Yeah.
Who else was doing that back then?
Yeah.
And his sicilian was on point. Guy's name was Tony. I lived up the block, so we could walk up there and get slices. So I really had no choice but to fucking love that place.
That's me and my dog, Tony. And
Palermo Pizza. It's not even there. I think it's a Subaru dealership now.
Right. How about Chinese?
Come on, son. I'm a Tangs man.
Tangs, right?
Myself.
Oh yeah.
Does everybody say Tangs though?
No,
most don't.
I mean, one time
it's like a location-specific thing. Anyone that lived between Frank and Sunrise.
But there's no contest. Maybe Doc Lee Lau back then, because the old man would zap you behind the ear with that magic trick he used to do. Remember that?
No.
So
I've never had Doc Lee Lau.
They used to call him Doc. I don't remember his real name.
He's not. He's passed on.
Oh.
He's on the other side.
He used to do a magic trick.
Where underage kids somehow got served.
No, yeah, he would definitely serve underage. But he would touch your earlobe and give you a static shock.
Wow.
And he would say it was like chi magic or something like that.
Okay, so what else?
There.
What was your favorite hangout spot growing up?
Were you a shoe 2 guy?
Shoot too, no. I did go to those places though.
I feel like everyone did at least once or twice.
At one point, I worked at a skate park.
Right.
You know what skate
Inline velocity.
Where they had the shows.
So I worked as
25 to life played there, I believe.
Yeah. So I worked there as a what would you call that? Like a
skater boy.
No, no. They had it was a hockey rink when I was there.
A page.
Yeah. No, I would just take score. I would take score.
Nick said he worked there too.
Yeah. Nick worked there with me for a while,
that
and
makes
then
sense.
I don't remember what happened with Nick. If he got fired or he left.
I think he hurt himself.
But when they
Friendlies
threw
recruited him.
that hardcore show, that dude. Long story short, that dude Rob, who was running that place, disappeared. He got $16,000 in fines, and he disappeared. And I had the only set of keys left. And he had an apartment upstairs.
Okay.
And there was there was soda machines, and I had the keys to the gate. And I pretty much lived in that place when I was 18 for and me and all my friends would hang out there. We'd just go there, and then sometimes kids would come up the railroad tracks and skate in the skate park outside.
Yeah.
But there was a half pipe still inside.
Yeah.
And it was that's probably #1 ultimate hangout. Wow. Yeah, we did that for years.
Yeah, you can't ask for more.
They knocked it down
as a teenager. What else?
This gets rough, but sometimes we do best or worst teacher.
Best?
Do you want to big someone up or throw someone under the bus?
I really like Mr. Wasson as an English teacher. The dude was very smart.
Yeah, my sister had him. Always talked highly of him.
Mr. Malofsky in junior high was another honorable mention.
I don't know who that is.
Mr. H.
Oh, yeah. The dragon all over print shirt tech guy who would smoke cigarettes.
Bit of a wild man,
yeah.
He was cool. He gave me weed one time. Yeah, I don't know. I loved my high school teachers. You know, Miss Meyer. Were you in my class, Miss Meyer?
No.
English. She didn't like me. I didn't get along with her. No, I think Lyndhurst had a bunch of great teachers, to be honest. So I don't really have anything bad to say about any teachers in Lyndhurst.
That's what's up.
What else you got? Anything?
What up?
Nah, I got nothing else.
All right, fuck you guys. Then.
Well, I know you were dipping into the ska and hardcore scene for a while. Was there a favorite band? A favorite local band?
Were you a Foreshadow guy or a Negative Influence? Because they had
Negative
changed their
Influence.
name at some point.
I mean, of course, Negative Influence.
But I was in for Shadow, so.
I feel like I was.
I remember you
Just
making
getting out.
making something for Foreshadow in journalism.
I did?
You made a poster where you used some clip art of like a girl crawling.
How do you remember shit?
I don't
like
know,
this?
but I did.
That's a deep cut. I don't remember that either.
You find me that picture.
I can't.
I can't remember stuff I photoshopped when I was 17 years old. You're a beast, John.
I'm something.
Hot dog, Rain Man.
Yeah, so as we're winding down, future plans for the business, anything on the horizon?
No, we're just. I mean, pretty much what we're doing right now is.
My one question is:
Sure.
Is it just men's grooming stuff, or will you ever move into like
I mean, we do a women's fragrance every year,
beyond fragrances though?
once a year. The texture powder is unisex.
Gotcha.
A lot of my fragrances are unisex. I do a lot of fragrance.
I
The
do
barbershop-
know some women who buy it.
Oh yeah,
For sure. I know
we have a
people
lot of
that
women
use
that come into the shop.
Would you ever get into deodorant? Is another question.
We've been talking about it. I hate to, there's something called line extension, and the more products you add, the more products you have to keep in stock. The more products you have to
Gotcha.
have in different fragrances.
Then
the
it's
more,
just another
like,
column on the spreadsheet.
yeah.
Kind of.
Honestly, I was against going into the hair game and
Right.
doing like pomades, but it was just, it made sense, and I always wanted to make pomades. I love making oil-based pomades. There's like a whole like faction of people who are really into that. And it's fun because you can make different products for them, and they'll try them out, and it like adds to like how creative you can get with like the limited edition stuff, So I like to do that type of stuff, but I've done deodorants, I've done like small runs of stuff just so people could try it out, or like they want it in a certain fragrance, or I make one for somebody. I might as well make 25, 100 of them and send them out to people who ask for it or whatever. And right now, what I'm getting into in the lab is I'm like building out my fragrance library, and like right now I have a lot of synthetics and a lot of store-bought essential oils and concretes and all that type of stuff. I have like 800 different fragrances in there, but I want to start making my own fragrance compounds from scratch. So I'm like buying, Palo Santo in bulk and grinding it up and then soaking it in ethanol in perfumer's alcohol and,
You want
evaporating it
proprietary
off and
shit.
running it through a rotovap and doing extractions and then taking those concretes that result and turning them into absolutes and then creating fragrances from that. And then I'll do, when you do something in small batches like that, you get such a small, minute amount that if I could do 4 or 5 bottles of something really special and really like handmade, I think I want to go kind of in that direction and start building up the library of that type of stuff and then be able to send that out to a real fragrance lab. 'Cause, like real perfume labs are like mass spectrometers, and I'm just not on that level yet. And like, so what I do is I have a friend at a big firm in New York, and I send the fragrance that I design to them. They'll do chromatic mass spectrometry. Sorry, terrible word. They'll analyze it and they'll make a duplication of it that's IFRA approved, and like you can put it into fragrance and they'll turn it into a fragrance oil.
Gotcha.
And that's how most of the bigger perfume houses make their fragrances. They usually hire a perfumer. I'm skipping that step, even though like being a perfumer is like very, you need to go to school in France. But like my whole life, everybody's always told me you can't teach yourself this.
Yeah.
And like, I will beg to differ almost every time on that. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that I can, I'm going to make experimental fragrance and perfumes, and that's kind of my main hobby right now. I'm really like leaning into. So expect to see some media of that on my page or the Holy Black page, and I've just bought all the lab equipment. I'll show you after the show.
Nice.
Cool. I guess that brings us to our closing question. If you could describe Lindenhurst to someone who's never been here, what would you tell them?
I would say it's a pretty typical Long Island town. With I don't know. I feel like Lindenhurst kind of a weird place. Like everybody's from Lindenhurst. And I don't know if that's because I grew up in Lindenhurst is huge. If you look on a map, but like it's 90% cemetery, right? What's that like? So
Mostly dead.
But I think we do have a very large. I sound so Long Island right now. A very large population, and
we're densely populated.
And I think that the music scene was so important here, and like. That I think that really has a lot to do, especially like your podcast, the people you're interviewing.
Yeah,
there was such a huge community that burst out that time. So like Lindenhurst on a whole, in that sense, I would say is like one of the coolest places to grow up.
And it brought kind of the DIY spirit into it.
Yeah,
which I think is what sparked a lot of business
I'm
ideas.
about DIY till
sure.
we die, baby. Yeah, this is
DIY.
And like you look around, there's so many people still doing DIY shit.
Yeah,
like that dude from Sail Away and friggin' Hugo. Hugo's doing awesome stuff. He's doing these events.
Yeah,
like are you guys going to that event on Sunday?
Yes. Yep.
It's gonna be friggin' killer.
The last one was insane.
Him and his girl Galen are unbelievable people. And like he's just like me. He's like got like 9 businesses running, and his head's gonna explode.
Got a truck coming soon.
Yeah, let's go. All right, so I just feel like that a lot cool shit came out of Lindenhurst, and I think now a lot more cool shit's gonna. And like now, like Sand City's been doing hardcore shows and like punk rock shows, and Ruby's doing shows. Like, dude, let's go. And like this summer we're shutting down Wellwood Avenue for the car show this year. I think it's July 14th.
Yeah, sounds right.
We got the wall bounce parking lot. No one's gotten it yet.
Hell yeah.
We got in touch with the owner. He's letting us use the parking lot. We're closing down Wellwood Avenue like Springfest, and we are throwing the biggest block party. We're going to have bands, and it's going to be a wild party.
We also
like
have
over
something
300
in the works
cars
for
there, too.
Later in the summer, so that may be announced by the time this comes out. We'll see. But
yeah, maybe you could come DJ a set, Tony Black.
Hell yeah.
Anytime.
I think we're going to try to make an effort to go to these things and interview people on the scene.
Yeah, come out to any party we have. You guys are always invited to come down. You guys came last time we did a live game show, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Fun. Cool.
Come through.
So I guess just let everyone know where they can find you online, where they can order your stuff.
Yeah, go on theholyblack.com, at theholyblack on Instagram, at svincentblack on Instagram is my personal page. That's pretty much it. People still use Facebook?
I don't know. Not for that.
My grandma does.
The gram is where it's at nowadays.
Buy their shit if you want to smell like
TikTok.
me. I'm wearing Jekyll and
email
Hyde.
me. Please, don't email me. That's
Cool.
it.
All right. Well, thanks for talking, man.
I appreciate it.
Shirts on my suit, a fedora for a hat. My weapons are a Tommy gun and a baseball bat. The copper show won't get me. I pay him off each week. I'll fill you full of lead so your chest will leak. Mike the Barber.
Long live the bench.